Nigeria is an import-dependent nation with its major source of income from oil exports. With a downturn in the fortunes of the oil industry, widespread corruption, and mismanagement of the petrol dollars, funds that should have been invested in creating jobs for the millions of unemployed youths in the country. With no industries to fall back to, Nigeria is at a crossroad. The government is driving a conscious effort to move people back to the farms, especially the high population of unemployed youths.
It outlines our policies and our objectives in trying to see agriculture as the next and biggest alternative in our drive to diversify the economy of this country. The document is titled The Green Alternative, and it outlines virtually everything we need to do, every policy we need to undertake to achieve self-sufficiency in agriculture and also to become a major exporter of agricultural products, a situation which we occupied many decades ago. We are working hard on the staples to satisfy local production, and we are fully aware that there is a major concern in the country for food self-sufficiency, and that there is crisis in many families and a severe shortage of food. But we're working hard, and we want to thank God that ours has not yet become as bad as that of one South American country, which was also a major oil producer. By that I mean Venezuela, and whose situation is definitely 100 times worse than ours. But the point is that where we're going, we believe in a short while, another year and a half at the maximum, we should be reasonably self-sufficient in grains like rice, maize, beans. We may not have achieved everything in wheat, but we'll be very close to our targets. Other things are also there in the roadmap, quite a voluminous document for you to look at.
The call for diversification can no longer be an issue of lip service. This explains why some young Nigerians are venturing into entrepreneurship, especially in the agricultural sector. On today's show, we meet two young Nigerians willing to prove through their practice that farming is a viable means of living.
My name is Ismail Bukar. I operate Kafili Farms. I founded it. I have a partner now, but we operate it together. I'm also a global shaper with the Abuja Global Shapers community. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Borno State, the southern part of Borno, local government area.
Ismail explains what prompted his foray into the sector.
Even the farming thing I wasn't really brought up in the farming background. My dad is not really a farmer per se, he's a civil servant. Before our generation, farming has always been seen as something for the poor, something for the less privileged. But, finishing university, that's my first degree. And, seeing what the reality looks like in terms of the labor market, you tend to get to know that, okay, things are not really, what you expect them to be. And I started looking for alternatives, I can't just go queue up on a job queue with another 1 million young Nigerians looking for the same job, as the case was with the recent immigration thing and many other things like that. So I searched other ways, and I got to know of poultry farming. Even in agriculture, I got more interested in poultry farming. And it started out that way, and I picked up interest in it. That was in 2010, 2011. I started with my consultations and my practice, and over the years, this is where it has brought us. So now I run and operate this farm. Kafili Farms Limited. So again, it basically was bettered in 2011, but it didn't get into full-scale commercial production until 2015. 2014 when I returned from my master's. But before then, obviously, there are lots of things that went underground before this could have happened. We I had to do several trial phases to be able to know what I'm able to do. I had to, make sure this place is secured. I have to put one or two parameter, facilities in place. But yeah, so Philly Farms Limited was started in 2011, but it didn't really reach that full commercial scale production until 2004, 2015. Mainly what I do here, I learn practically. I consult with people who have done it extensively. And when I say consult, I don't mean I go into a posh office and sit down with some posh guys and talk agric. No, I consult with the rural farmers, with the guys in the villages, with the guys that use the crude methods. I sit down with them and consult with them. And in our discussions, I pick out one or two things, and then I find a way to use my own way to modify it and then make it a bit more modern. I'm not even big on food personally. I'm not a big food fanatic, but I saw that the gap between what we're able to produce as a nation and what we consume as a nation was so wide, and there was simply very few other business ideas that would make as so much sense as agriculture. It just felt like the right thing to tap into. When I sat down and I consulted with people and I drew up my numbers, I just knew that this makes sense. Come 10 years from now, it will still continue to make sense, because we need to be able to reach that level of food sufficiency before we even start saying the competition is really starting in Nigeria. There's no really competition within the agri sector. Whatever you produce, if you produce it well and you market it well, there are people ready to consume it. So that was one of the major attractions, obviously combined with the fact that I just wasn't keen on going on, knocking on offices looking for jobs. And, I had all these things in place, and I just, keyed into it and made it happen.
Ismail, a graduate of geography, possesses a master's degree in health, safety and environment. Vital knowledge which has helped him on the farm. He shares with us the story of his early days.
So when I initially said, okay, I was going to try out poultry, I reached out to a family member, a member of my nuclear family, and I said I needed a loan of 50,000 naira to buy a few birds and grow them. And outrightly I was told no. Not because the money wasn't there, but because they probably felt I was going to squander the money or something else. So I reached into my own personal savings. After I dropped my numbers, I needed 50,000 naira to produce. I had 15,000 naira. I took out the 15,000 naira, all of it, and I went and I bought the birds. I bought the first batch of feeds. I housed them and everything. And I started. I didn't know where the money for the next set of feed was going to come from. But because I had that determination and will, I used all that I had and I started off. And while I was going, somehow, you always get 1,000 or 2,000 coming in from somewhere. And then I was able to save enough, and that batch went well. And because of the way that I did it, because of the way people saw that I was so determined to excel at this thing, support started coming in from people that I know, from people that I don't know. Support started coming in because obviously when I produce birds, I sell them off. Your neighbors will want to buy birds from you and whatnot. And then you get enough money, reinvest the profit back in, and we started small. I produced no more than 100 birds for the first 4 years of production. No more than 100 birds every batch. Because I was using that as a learning phase. I was using that to, modify things, to try to practice, to try to perfect the craft. So then that wasn't really the profit-making period. That was, the try-out period. And the way people, day in, day out, Easter, Ramadan, Christmas, when people began to identify with me as someone who they can come with for chickens during these seasons, I got some sort of, consistent inputs from sales. So that also contributed financially. And the biggest of them all was that I never knew that people were observing. And I'm not talking people close to me, people from a distance. And I got a call from a friend and he said, you know what, I'm interested in this farming thing. Can I see your farm numbers? Let's see if you can invest. I told you initially that I have a partner. And that was it. Before I knew it, this farm was here, and it has gotten to the point where we were thinking of a massive expansion, and and millions of naira came in. And so basically the moral of the story is start with whatever it is you have. Regardless of whether there's the money there or not, or there are resources there or not, or whatnot, start with what you have. Once you start with what you have, you will get to a certain level where naturally, for most people, that assistance, that input that you need will come. And it all comes down to how determined people see you get.
Ismail doesn't fail to open up on his business model with insights into poultry production as well as the growth of his farm.
The business side of it is quite the most interesting part. I break it down into two, the poultry. There's the production and then there's the marketing and distribution. Production is, depending on where your strength is, one or either of them, either or both of them could become headaches. But these are the kind of things where you have to actually consult and test the market and speak with people to be able to see what's really there. So production is basically buy your birds, put them on the farm, feed them for a number of weeks, they're ready to be sold. Marketing, I think, in my opinion, there's a divide between farmers and consumers. There are middlemen there who try to bridge that gap, but they also try to be a bit too greedy sometimes. They try to rip off the farmer by buying his products at a very cheap rate and then sell to consumers at a very high rate, which means the farmer doesn't gain, the consumer doesn't gain, only the person in the middle who did the lesser work is benefiting. But other than that, when you put certain things in place to be able to curb that, to be able to either bypass the middlemen and get your direct link to the consumers, I think it will be best. Over here, what we do is we produce mainly broiler birds. That's chicken meat production. I'm not so much big into egg production. We do that, but on a very small scale. On a smaller scale, really, compared to meat production. So we produce our birds, we bring the day-old chicks. We don't hatch them here. We buy them from a hatchery. We bring them to the farm, we grow them, and then we have our own medium of reaching our customers directly. And we're in Abuja, we have a very wide range of people contacting us for birds all over. We supply restaurants, we supply individuals in their houses, we supply in bulk, we supply, so those kind of things. That's for the chickens. The crops as well. Behind me here we're planting ginger. Ginger is not really directed towards the consumer, the final consumer. Ginger is mainly for industrial purposes, medicinal purposes. So produce the ginger we sell in bulk to people who buy them. Some export them, some use them locally. But I think the percentage that is being used locally is quite low compared to what is being exported, because obviously we're not an industrialized nation yet. So most of those things are used abroad. We also have maize. Sometimes we use the maize to supplement the chicken feed. So basically you see how the farm can be integrated. So the maize supplement the feed. We also planted yams over there, which we sell. Those ones go directly to the market. We're also planting hibiscus, which will go directly to the market. We're planting tomatoes, which also go directly to the market. So depending on what it is that we're producing will determine where it's going to. So we have the chickens who go directly to the consumers. We have the ginger who go directly to the foreign market. We have the maize, which supplements the chickens. We have the yams and the tomatoes which will go directly to the Nigerian market.
We asked Ismail about what challenges have bedeviled him so far.
Quite a number of them, and I think one of the basic for you who have had all your requirements in place, one of the biggest challenges you face will be access to markets. And it seems like that's not really a challenge, but you will find out it's a challenge when you get really into it. This is because we know for a fact that Nigeria does not produce we're not even close to producing what we consume, which only means that whatever it is that we produce now as a nation, there are people ready to consume it. But having that access, that direct access to the people consuming it, can become a challenge if you don't, strategize well. That's one, access to markets. I won't deny that access to finance is also an issue. I did say that, you start small and grow from there. But you get to a point where you see this huge potential and you want to expand, and the government's, policies are not really helping you that much. As a young man of 26, I'm expected to provide CFO, of a property before I can be able to access a loan. I'll be able to, I need to pay that loan back with 9% interest rate. They're working out to bring it down to 5%, but it's still 9% interest rate. And I have to provide 20% equity. That's one of the craziest ones. So if I need ₦1 million, I need to provide 200,000 naira. I mean, if I have 200,000 naira, I probably wouldn't be needing ₦1 million because all I need to do is plow it back a few more times and I have that million. So I think the government needs to work on that part. So access to finance is also an issue. Access to land is an issue because a lot of young people are interested in farming. They want to come and farm, but land is one of the most expensive commodities right now in the country. So where do you get to buy land, or where do you get to even lease a land? Those are the kind of issues. Generally in agri also, I think, in as much as there's still that increasing interest by young people to come to farm, I think a lot of people still don't fancy farming. They don't see it as a business. They don't see it as a way of making more money than you would sitting in an office somewhere. They still see it as a thing for the old people. I had someone call me back a while back and so what do you do now? I said, I'm a farmer. So you mean you go bend down with a hoe and cutlass every day to work? Well, how's your back? And I said, my back is fine. I mean, that's not farming. This is not, he had those, that's the idea of farming that he has, which is way different from, so those are all the challenges. I think there's still a few more, but those are some of the basic.
Ismail would love to share a few words with other young Nigerians who might be interested in farming.
Just go for it. It may seem like an Herculean task. It may seem like something which you may not, fully know where you're going to land. But I think the hardest thing for you to do is to start. Once you start, whatever obstacle that lies in front of you, whatever challenge you feel you're facing, you will find someone who will be able to assist you. You will find someone who will be able to, help you through it, or you will find a way of overcoming them, basically. So think of whatever challenge you have. I think once you have the will and the determination, the worst thing that is standing in your way is you unstarting. Once you start, I think that's the biggest obstacle gone, and then you can take it up from there. And there are always young farmers around that you can speak to. I've had so many people contact me on social media, personally. So I want to come visit a farm. I want to see what you do. I want to, I just basically want to have an inspiration, and they're always welcome. They always come here. They always talk to me, and I'm always happy to give those kind of talks. So look for someone around you that does such a thing, and just go for it.
To the millions of unemployed youths, Ismail would rather you do not fold your arms or stand up for hours at job queues.
I tell them this. I say, Nigeria, unfortunately, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in Africa. So on one hand, there's poverty and unemployment rampant amongst the youth. On the other hand, there's agriculture that's needing us to come in because we need to feed ourselves as a nation. So why would you just sit down there idle when you can actually be gainfully employed in agriculture? If you want me to show you, come. I'll open my books to you. I'll, open my farm to you. Come and see for yourself. But don't just sit out there idle and say there's nothing for us to do. I think there's something for every young Nigerian to do, for most young Nigerians to do when it comes to agri. Because bring 1 million of myself, we still won't be able to feed this nation. So we need way more people to come in. So rather than sit idle, I think you should really consider it. It will be helpful.
For those who might be interested in poultry farming, Ismail's veterinary doctor shares a valuable tip on planning that will help you greatly.
If you look at it, some people look at it that you can only produce broilers maybe during season, it's seasonal, maybe during festive periods, maybe Christmas, Easter period, during Ramadan. But it goes beyond that. We ought to produce year in, year out. And for you to do that, you have to plan. In planning, you have to ensure continuity so that you produce broilers both in season and out of season. You find out that most of the times after production, you go to the market there, you have a kind of dreadlock. Everybody is bringing out at the same time. But if you plan it this way, even when you produce, if you cannot sell them as live birds, you can as well dress them and put them in your... I know that it's not easy, you may not afford the cold chain or the cold room, but you can just use your deep freezer as your cold room, So that is the basic thing in a broiler production. Because if you don't do that, you find out at the point when you produce, people out there, especially the middlemen, they'll be pricing, far below what you've put at maybe the cost of production now. So what you do that, you plan ahead.
Our second entrepreneur hails from Ogbomosho in Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, a graduate of animal science.
My name is Oyinkanla Oluwamayowa Abdulhafiz. I hail from Ogbomosho. I am a farmer by profession. I studied animal science and I'm practicing what I went to school to go and study.
Through his project, pushing to change the narrative about farming, he explains the current perception that exists in the mind of Nigerians.
Agriculture. Agriculture has always been something there, but yet nobody really ventured into knowing what extent it can generate revenue from. Let me come from this aspect or from this angle. Agriculture provides Nigeria as a country 60% of our GDP, just post-colonial. And yet, it's began to decrease and decrease and decrease to what we have to today. But there's something that is there. The beauty of agriculture in those eras are still visible till today. We have cocoa house, we have the pyramids of granite and the nuts. We have evidence that still showcase the beauty of this trade and this venture. So agriculture has always been calling out to everyone, but yet nobody or no one seems interested in eating to its core. Agriculture in Nigerian frame, it's something that most family, society would advise against, yet they must eat. If you just wake up early in the morning and just tell your parents that my dream is to be a farmer, the first thing that will come to their mind is, are you out of your mind? Why not a doctor? Why not a lawyer? Why not a pharmacist? Why not a banker? But we must try as much as possible to educate people on the need to be actively involved in agriculture. This is why we started an initiative called Let's Talk Agric. Let's Talk Agric came out from the premises of QM Farms, and it was something skimmed out of, yes, let's tell our story to the world. Let's tell people that we are young Nigerians, we are educated, we have a little bit of what do I call it? We have a little bit of experience on it, not too much, and we are opportune to see more than the borders, more than the shores of our borders. We know what is going on in other countries, and we know how youths are actively involved in this venture. But why is it that people are trying as much as possible in order not to get into this venture in our home climate? So Let's Talk Agric begins. And we had the first one in Lagos. We talked about the phases of agriculture, from production to processing to packaging to branding to distribution to marketing. We talked about the ills and the challenges.
After the success of the Lagos event, calls came by way of social media for the project to take a wider scope.
Start thinking about it. Why not just spread this across the nation? So we did the second one in March in Abuja, and it trended all over the social media. People started to give their own accounts of why they need people to be actively involved in agriculture. We've been successfully able to have six or five farms from Let's Talk Agric, people that have ventured into agriculture afterwards the program, because we give to them, we offer them consultation on how to start up your farm. We try as much as possible to guide them through what agriculture means, the ills of agriculture. Because if you are talking about the limitation of agriculture, the limits of agriculture, it's just too much. But yet, with all these limiting factors, we must eat. Eating is something that we cannot do without. We must just eat food.
Mayowa speaks on the opportunities that abound in this sector.
The moment that procreation continues, we must feed those people. So that is what we are doing. We are telling people that, okay, if you're youth, if you're dynamic, if you're energetic, if you're educated, agriculture has a room for you. From production, for example. I know it's not a lot of people are not interested in the production aspect. People don't want to get their hands dirty, but it's not limited to getting your hands dirty. You can sit down in an office, set up with your AC, with your laptop, with your desktop, and yet be an agriculturist. It has the processing aspect, it has the branding aspect, it has the marketing aspect, the distribution aspect, then the feedback aspect. What are the people? What are the things that these people? What are the things that they really want? What are the ills that are happening in this venture? What are the problems that are facing these farmers? How can we create solution for it?
We asked Mayowa, what would he advise his colleagues? And he has this to say.
Enough of the federal government is not trying. If the federal government is not doing anything for you, you have to stand up yourself. We know there are limiting factors. Yes, land tenure system, lack of input, lack of infrastructure, a lot of things are there. Lack of data set, because there is no data. There is nothing that would have a prelate of what the next season would bring for any plantation farmer. There is nothing that would foretell the next batch of poultry, of birds that you take from an hatchery. Maybe it's bad or it's good. There is nothing. There is no data set in order to show, okay, the growth rate or the limiting rate. But yet we must stand up, get up and get involved. To me, it's not capital. Capital is not the limiting factor in agriculture. The limiting factor in agriculture is projection and zeal. If you have the zeal and the projection, it takes nothing for you. You find the capital. For example, this is we are a social media generation. Money people spend on their phones, on data and every other thing. If you just accumulate everything together, start up small. It's not essential that you start a big farm with 500 birds. And another thing, if you're starting up, start up with a realistic approach. A lot of people come into agriculture hearing about the good deeds of agriculture, the booming deeds of agriculture. But agriculture is not a fast lane. It's a lane that's built up gradually. You have to invest heavily and you reap your investment in the later days, not immediately. Some machineries have to be put in place on the farm, like the cages, like the pens. You cannot see the money that you just dropped in it just in a year. But in forthcoming years, you would see more than that. But patience is a luxury my generation lacks. We want a fast means. It's not our fault. We are cultured to believe in the fast means, fast earning, fast spending.
Our final question was, what one tool would intending young farmers require?
You need a professional. You just need a professional. From planting to livestock, you need to involve someone that knows about it. Because if you say you are going to do it on your own, you can get it. But you would have sacrificed a lot before you get it. But if you have a professional, it will curtail your losses. If you allow the professional to work. Because some people hire professionals, but they limit the professionals, telling them it's my thing, it's my thing, it's my thing. No, if you allow the professional to work on your thing, educate you on how your thing could boom, then you would have an awesome experience in this field.
Ismail and Mayowa are just two stories in a myriad of young and, I dare say, successful farmers. Another name which popped up recently is Rotimi Williams. This young man of 35 is said to own the second largest rice farm in Nigeria. Welcome back. If you enjoyed our feature package, you should know there is more. The celebration continues in our next segment.
Even if I fall or stumble, even if you cause me trouble, I won't let it get to me. I won't let it get to me. Even if I fall